Hello, hello, everyone. This is Jynnette The Oracle. Welcome to Oracle Talks. I am coming to you today to continue the series on Uranus and Gemini. And today we are going to be focused on money slash markets, business, that type of vibe. I have already actually gone into relationships. So that was a previous Oracle Talks. I will be sure to link that below. But you can also find it under the planets playlist. Okay. Quick announcements. I do have a new featured service for the month, and that is going to be the Visioning Consultation Session. So the Visioning Consultation Session is basically a one-on-one with me where you might be someone who is really feeling called to expand your impact on, making a difference, making a change. And that call is looking to start a business or maybe even possibly a nonprofit, depending. And so it's designed to kind of help you parse through that, really look at your astrology and see the things that support that, to really flesh out some of those things that you need to be mindful of, and aware of as you go through that process of setting up your business, launching it, some things to kind of look out for so that you can avoid some, pitfalls or mistakes that others may make, and just give you some considerations for things that you might not have thought about or might not know are important, especially, to have in mind before you come across them later on down the road. So it's a great hour to really kind of soak up information from someone who has been in the game now. It'll be 10 years this summer. So yeah, check that out. The link is again in the description below for that. I am updating my schedule for availability Sunday night as always for the week ahead. So check in and see what works for you in terms of availability. But that's the featured service for this month. Okay. So that specifically is for folks who don't already have a business, who are looking to start one. If you do have a business and you want support for, that which is already existing, you can also book a session on my site. If you go to the services tab there, I do have a service specifically for folks who are already in business. So that would be for you. But this is for folks who are looking to make that venture into entrepreneurship. And, it can be entrepreneurship in addition to your full-time job, or maybe you are already in a full-time job and you're thinking of starting something on the side, or, well, not starting something on the side, but eventually to like replace your business. So, or replace your job. So it's up to you, whatever works for you. And I believe that is it for announcements. The April 2026 astrology report did just drop, for those of you who are in the newsletter, so you were able to see that. I do also have it up on the blog page now. So that goes through both personal and business insights for the month based on the transits that are happening. Also, I did an April 2026 video that provides additional perspective on some transits, as well as ancestor and angel messages and guidance. So there's a lot of support around that. I do link that in the blog page, but of course you can find the April 2026 video on the Oracle Talks playlist here on the channel. Okay, so either way, you'll be able to get to that. I definitely recommend watching that video as a supplement to the blog, because I do address things there that I don't talk about in the report itself. Okay. And I like doing that. I think actually we'll, moving forward, continue to do that, have the astrology report, and also do a video that goes a little bit more in depth into some specific transits, and also do some angel and ancestor messages too. So let me know if that vibes with you as well. But I think I will do that again for May. But yeah, so that's it. So new month astrology report is out, and new featured service this month, the Visioning Consultation. Again, information will be in the description below, or you can just go to the website. So let's get into today's message. So we have, again, Uranus and Gemini, specifically focused on money, markets, business, all that kind of stuff for today. I did in the previous Oracle talks specifically spend time describing my perspective on the archetypes of Uranus as well as Gemini independently. Um, I will also be linking that explanation in the description below, and it also will be put in the planets playlist that I have on the channel. So you can look at that and review it. Because again, like I said, I'm doing a series on this. I'll probably do one more video specifically on spirit messages and shifts and changes happening in the upper dimensions and things that might be going on there. And I think that will be it. I think it'll just be those three, unless I get told differently, but that's the plan. But I did clip out specifically the info on Uranus archetypally and Gemini archetypally so that you can reference that independently and just have that info, even if you don't want to dive into the specific areas that I'm talking about. So I will definitely make sure that is up after I finish this particular video. So if you are new and you haven't watched that video, I would, excuse me. If you haven't seen that explainer yet, I would recommend watching that first and then engaging with this material, because that's going to give the foundation for what's going on today. Because I'm not going to be reviewing that. I'm going to be talking about other things. So definitely do that for context and then come here and check out this video. Yes, so I did make some notes because things were definitely coming up that I wanted to drop in before I get into the messages. So I'm going to talk about that right now. So this is going to be a little bit more on Gemini. So Gemini, as you know, focuses more so on what we would call the local environment. And local will be in quotes because it's going to be unique to the person. In the world that we live now, for many of us, local also includes the digital environment, which oftentimes will be national or even sometimes international. So I would define local as being the things that, or the environment, the world that you create that you have direct and easy access to, with some relative, immediacy. So that is friends, family, siblings, right? Your literal local neighborhood environment, the places that you frequent as well as places that you frequent online. Like that's again direct access that you have control over. Whereas, and that's Gemini. The opposite sign, of course, Sagittarius, is going to be more things that require more effort for connection, if that makes sense. So that may be, more on the national side of things or international side of things. But again, that part that requires more effort. So that's more Sagittarius. So I'll say that is global, international, quote unquote, whereas Gemini will be local. So since we're going to be sitting in this energy for Uranus in Gemini for these next 8 years, specifically how this is going to be looking at, how this is going to be impacting, money, markets, etc., in the context of the world in which we are living right now. This is what I want to share. So for business owners in particular, but just this also could be all industries, governments, etc. This focus on Gemini as the local environment rather than the broader one, it means that we're going to be seeing and continue to see, because it's already coming up, a scramble to find local, again, relative, local solutions to global problems that are not only starting to occur, have been occurring, but are going to continue and expand down the road. Okay. The North Node as well plays into this because the North Node is in Pisces. Pisces also deals when we talk about industry and economy, markets, and things like that. It has to deal with like shipping, so it has that broader international um, import export uh, areas that it focuses on. So that is definitely still in play through the end of July, right? So that's going to keep the focus for most folks on the same type of um, I guess I'll say like avenue of thought or thought process in terms of where they look for solutions or how they look to solve certain problems, because it's the normal thing. It's what the usual thing is to look for those types of solutions. However, we are going to be shifting into Aquarius, and that shift to Aquarius is going to pull focus away and a lot of that seeking of that normalization away from um, that broader global focus, and in particular, newer organizations, companies, industries, or whatever that have popped up recently are going to be facing a lot of pressure because they're not going to be able to handle that rapid shift. It's going to seem rapid, but it's been going on for a little while. Folks are going to be scrambling to look for solutions. And if you are aware of this and making changes now to address these problems, i.e., finding local solutions to global issues, you're going to be positioned as a leader, as a front runner, as a way shower in your company, in your industry, by having that in place now, compared to folks who are going to, again, keep trying to do things as normal until shit hits the fan. And then it's just like, the scramble. People will be looking to tap into the networks for solutions. And you could be a solution provider. But again, regardless, you already know what's happening. You already know what's coming down the pipeline. It's not going to magically get resolved soon. So the planning and the hard choices need to be made now so that you are positioned, especially once the astrology starts to shift in a major way in the second half of the year. You are actually prepared and are able to um, take advantage of the situation. Speaking of making plans in these, the world in which we live, we have obviously the fuel shortage, which will continue because who knows how long the situation is going to be going on. And we all know what the situation is. So we're going to be experiencing fuel shortage for a while. Amazon, I believe, if it hasn't already, is going to be implementing a 3.5% charge. Okay. Here in the US, UPS, I think, has already implemented an 8% surcharge. And this is all due to fuel. This is on top of um, international delays, issues, import, export issues that are going on, obviously catalyzed by US tariffs, among other things. So these additional charges are coming. That's at least almost 12% additional on top of what already has been there, and again, what will continue to expand. Okay, we know that's to be the case. While these newer charges and the fuel issues are new and they're kind of compounding, the disruption and the chaos has already been in play for this past year. So now is the time to be creating new plans about how you're going to adjust. I touched on this a little bit in the blog, but now is the time to be making new plans for fulfillment. And this is specifically for folks who have businesses with physical products. Fleshing out new plans for fulfillment and shipping for your inventory, and communicating with your clientele. Like the communication is going to be key. Centering your customers, centering how they feel, how they are going through this experience as well, letting them know that you care, letting them know that you are in front of things, letting them know how you are making adjustments, some of which may be pricing, but honestly, adjustments in pricing should be kept relatively to a minimal. I would actually suggest that there be a streamlining of what is offered, so that there's less of a burden on the consumer. Okay. Um, but yeah, and that includes, centering the customer, that includes adding more customer centric customer service workflow procedures within your business, operations within the business. Like that has to be a priority. That human touch has to be the priority. One of the things I talked about in the 2026 astrology um, workshop that I did was about how IRL centric events, businesses, elements to industry are really going to be highlighted. And you're going to see the folks, you probably already have been seeing, but you're going to see the folks who are really taking that part to heart. And again, centering those that they serve with their work versus those who are just kind of like whatever to their customers, to their clients. Like it's just not going to fly. And that goes internally as well as externally. It's both, right? Because we have internal customers, employees, as well as external ones. Um, so yeah, so those are the things that have popped up um, for me in terms of like the general thing around money. But of course, I want to get into spirit messages to see what else is showing up there. So let's get into that. And then, of course, if you do have any comments or questions about um, things for your business or career and things like that that do not get addressed, just put it in the comments, or we can talk about it in the session, whichever works for you. Okay, so I already have the cards out. I haven't flipped them over, but we will, again, be doing a similar journey through the spread like we did for the relationship ones to see what's going to be happening here. Okay, so first card in the journey is the Four of Wands. So, Four of Wands in general is a card that talks about stability, celebration, things going well. But in this position, it talks about a change to the foundation of what has been comfortable, etc. Now, this is an interesting combination, interesting placement because it's wand, it's not pentacles, which would literally talk about physical resources. So that means, or how it's coming through for me is like there's actually a lot of creative opportunity with this. One more thing with this. While I am talking about money, markets, economy, business, career, etc., creativity is also in the play here because art also requires exchange, meaning artists creating something and sharing that with another. And that means of exchange, whether that is doing an exhibit, um, going to a poetry slam, performing their music, what have you, whether or not there is money involved, that exchange and relationship um, component that is central to artists and their artwork is also included in this. Okay. But yeah, this is feeling very creative, even though it means that there's a transformation of what has been comfortable, what has been the foundation that one has built upon. The key word here that's coming through is adaptability, like the ability to say Okay, things are shifting and changing. But let me actually take a step back and see what the opportunity here is, what is possible now. Um, because whether what has been, whatever has been the Four of Wands, whether it has worked or not worked, it's being forced to change regardless. So that means there are other options. So, how can I position my mindset and my heart, because it has to be both, right? We're not machines. We need our heart and our mind with this. How can I position both to um, be calm enough and open and receptive enough to play in this space of adaptability and to ask the question, what else could there be? How else could I do this? What has been in place that, while comfortable, has become fossilized and have become regimented about how something has to be done, how money has to be made, how whatever again has to be done, and how could I shift that? And possibly not even one way. Like, what's three or four other options? I don't have to do all those options, but the practice and the skill of testing it out in that creative space and imagining and relying on the power of daydreaming to do that work is really important, really key here. Okay, so interesting first step. Interesting first step. So next we have the magician. Look at that. Literally, the magician is about, now that you see what you have, and again, we have the four pillars here. Now that you see the possibilities, you see what's inherent versus apparent. So, apparent is what shows up physically as the external. So, we have these four physical pillars or staffs here of fire, whereas inherent is what is invisible or what is not externally shown. It's the nature or the quality of something. That's what's here. So this magician is a really powerful place to be in, and this is that place literally of visioning and hopes and dreams and daydreaming and being open to possibilities, um, which requires a lot of courage, requires balanced mind and open heart and playful heart, to be honest, to be able to do this work. Okay. So the recognition that, like, okay, this journey of Uranus to Gemini over this 8-year period is forcing that which is successful, that which has been comfortable, that which has been foundational to money, markets, business, career, etc., is going to be facing adjustment and adaptation. What's actually inherent under what I'm seeing externally that I can play with, because all I need are some of these core principles, these inherent skills, these inherent relationships, these inherent resources, whatever this is. But playing in with this and being open to this and creating something new with this is all that's needed. You'll notice the figure is blindfolded. Okay. It's not necessarily the case in other decks. For the most part, you see the magician with open eyes. But this one, the figure actually, oh no, it's not blindfolded. This is another, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a different card. Um, but yeah, the magician talks about also that you have everything that you need in order to um, get what you want. It doesn't imply that there's no obstacle or struggle, but it does tell you that you have everything that you need, which is a very empowering message, because it means that you're not at a position in the journey or whatever it is that's coming up that requires something outside of you and what you already have direct access to in order to take the next step. So this isn't conditional on the external world. This is the ability to recognize what you bring to the table within yourself, heart and mind and skills, as well as everything else that you are connected to. That's a powerful place to be. And to be honest, a lot of folks really do struggle with this because they may not recognize, especially if this card shows up in a reading, they may not recognize that, like, oh, I keep thinking that I need something external to take me to the next step, but I don't. This also reminds me about, I think this came up in the last message or the message before, it might have been in the April 2026 message. Um, and anyway, I said it recently about understanding where you are in the journey and not jumping ahead in steps, right? Because you might already be pre-thinking about, pre-worrying about, pre-strategizing about um, an obstacle down the road, which, is important to be mindful of. But this is saying the first step in dealing with the changes is to first assess and to see where you are and what you have. And that the next step is the step that you take from that place. It's not to say that there's not going to be external stuff that you have to engage with or try to seek and find later on. It's just, and this is literally the the first step after the identification, right? The first step is like, you have what you need to get to the next step. And if you continually bypass this, that's a place where healing needs to occur because it's showing that there's no value of you and what you bring to the table, right? So let's not skip over you and all that you bring, or you and all that um, your business brings, right? It's there. All right. So next we have Five of Wands. Now, Five of Wands is fives are about change in general, but the Five of Wands and the Five of Swords are very much about conflict with others or competition. Five of Wands is more competition for me, but it can also be, direct conflict depending on the context. We're speaking about money, markets, business, career, etc. So to me, I'm going to read this more as competition. Okay. This is an interesting placement because this talks about things that are hidden that can't be known. So it could be, subconscious fears, but also could be things happening in the background that you don't know about. There's actually a lot with this card, so let me share everything that's coming through. So one of the things that's coming through as it relates to the competition side of things is that it's important to know who actually is real competition versus not. Because the energy of this card is kind of like putting down that which is trying to be in competition with you that really doesn't have um, the power, the staying power, the organization, the um, brand identity, whatever, um, to hold its own with you. Right. So, like, this can be a distraction, right? The flip side is also true. If you're trying to compete with someone or something that has been around, um, again, whether this is business or career related, that has been around for a while, that is in a position of power, that has different kind of um, or more abundant resources, it's not a fight that you're going to win. So, like, don't pick battles that you can't win against that which is actually a stronger opponent. Because the asymmetry between you and that is too big for you to actually come out on top. But also, on the flip side, if you feel like folks are trying to compete for you or like making a lot of noise or what have you, like, and they're really not on that level, they are new to the scene, um, that's a distraction. So that you have to ignore it, you might have to take certain actions to um, stamp it out, whatever that's going to look like. Uh, somebody's copying your work or what have you, like, you do what you need to do. But yeah, you also have to understand your position in that regard as well. Something is coming up around the Pisces related issues. So this is going to be import, export, shipping, things like that. Um, this is saying that the bigger players in those industries definitely have a leg up. So if you are working for a smaller company or you have a business that does that same type of work and you're still smaller in nature, you're going to have a hard time with this, just FYI. With that being said, though, this would be a reminder to not be trying to do it on your own. Okay, so the suggestion would be to collaborate, or even possibly merge with others who have similar businesses that are on the same size, so that you can go up against, or be not even go up against, but be a viable option for providing that same service of shipping, import, export provider. Okay, so going on your own isn't going to work, but I would say joining with others would be the thing. Okay. I think there's one more thing with this one sec. Okay, last thing with this is take up space, especially since this work has been done of visioning and everything. Um, whatever this newness, this adaptability that you are sitting with, the shifts and changes that you're sitting with to make, um, let that take up space. So what this can mean um, on an internal level is a very specific push to remove or separate yourself from the old ways that maybe the role that you've been in has been operating, or how you've been doing business, marketing, et cetera, has been operating to like actually start to put that to the side and fully go in on something new. And it doesn't have to necessarily come with a big announcement. It can be more of a subtle shift that um, comes online over time. But this can also mean on the external front, more more outwardly external rather than like internal process or operations or workflows. This can mean really doing the hard work of repositioning your brand to separate you from others. Because while this does talk about competition, um, it's competition in the way of making yourself stand out rather than just fighting or competing just to be in the fray. Like the point is to be seen. The point is to be chosen. The point is, um, to get the customer, to get the deal. So the focus on where you are different again in the role in the business, um, that is coming through for that last message, and to really take up space in that difference. I'm hearing the phrase authenticity is king. And authenticity means, in this context, like being clear about what you bring to the table in the quest for money, whatever the context is, again, whether that's in your career or in your business. And you're going to need that fuel because we started with we're still going, of course, but we started with the Four of Wands, and now we're at the Five of Wands. So that progression is coming. We're in that process over the course of this journey. So it is something that is emerging. Again, it's not a quick fix, but it might be something that occurs within the first 2 to 3 years of this transit of Uranus and Gemini, of where you really start to pull out from the crowd and start to create a new sense of Four of Wands within the market, within the brand, within your position, within your company. And this starts to become more clear. All right, so let's see what's next. More fire. The Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands. Now, this is also conflictual energy. I have to say it because it's coming through. And then obviously we are in the midst currently of a lot of conflict. So this could also be saying that this is going to be continuing throughout this transit. I do have to mention that. I like this though because this is actually feeling like you finding your stride. Like there's an assuredness here with holding the staff, clarity of focus of where you're going, That's what I'm feeling here, and it's like, okay, I've found my rhythm. That sense of instability or what have you is not here. Now, this may also be the sixth staff. We'll see if the Six of Wands is coming up in the process of this journey. Um, but I mean, we basically, of the four cards that have come out thus far, it's all spirit. It's all creative energy, thought processes. This, in the context of money and business and career, this can be marketing, branding as well. Um, but this is feeling more like plans and testing with the branding and planning and a lot of that kind of work being predominant, which would make sense for this Gemini transit, right? But this might be that sixth staff that's coming, the feeling like that of coming to a sense of new stride, because the Six of Wands is a new place of balance and empowerment, but it is one that is more growth oriented versus just stable. It's stable as well, but it also is um, the phrase market fit is coming in. So that could be, for the business market fit. If it's related to a job, this could be culture fit or company fit, right? So this part of the process very clearly indicates to me that there's a nice return of investment coming through. Okay. This is striving for, getting the wins in the market and getting your footing in the market, but this is feeling like success. Now, depending on where this is within the transit, because this is about, the journey over the full 8 years. So who knows? But at this point in the transit, it may be a situation where your particular industry and the industries that are directly complementary to yours or that directly influence yours have come to a place of stability where um, this feels like less of a fight, less of an effort, and the money flow is better. Again, career wise, this could be um, again the job markets, the industry that your career is in. Maybe it's no longer like head wrenching job if there's been a lot of layoffs, and now things are chill. And there's now a sense of like, oh, okay, I can progress now. I can um, embrace more of the resources that companies are investing in training and et cetera. Right? This feels good. All right, so let's go. Oh, that's it. It's actually just those four cards. Well, that's interesting. That's actually really interesting. It's just those four cards. Because we came right back to the Four of Wands. So we end the cycle um right after that Knight of Wands energy. So we pretty much have stayed in fire and spirit cards for the most part. So let's go a little deeper into that because I'm actually surprised that that came out much more simply compared to the relationship spread. So that means there's more that's available here to dig into. Although that might actually start getting into politics based off of what's coming through. Because this is coming across as like four world powers. Four key world powers that are getting shaken up in the beginning. And there's a sense of like, okay, who's going to arise next? Some folks try to, it doesn't quite work out, and then eventually there is a new kind of world order. Another thing that's coming through, going through the path again, this is feeling again. I was talking about how it's important to center the clients, the customers. This feels like a deep transformation and focus on um, the consumer and really courting them, really prioritizing them, making their experience be the best as possible. That really is going to stand out. Again, internal customer as well as external customer. This is what stands out. Internally, corporations in the job career space, this allows you to attract and hire um, the best folks and who really give and dedicate their best to the work. For businesses, this acts as your kind of charm factor, increasing your referrals, increasing your brand awareness, just by nature of you being better and doing better than folks who are comfortable or who are like more established and rigid in the way that they view um, and basically disregard customers. And then this five of wands feels like an exposure for those who do really disrespect their clients and consumers, and how that kind of like comes out, those who devalue, and that behavior being a thing that actually um, sabotages their standing and effect and impacts their money. And the ones who are good, solid, are on the up and up, those are the ones that shine. I also find it interesting that all this energy that came out for this path is fire, and there's no earth energy at all. There's a little bit of it that can be pulled out of the magician card, because the magician has all four elements: air, fire, water, earth. Earth representing physical resources and money. This could be inventory, what have you, but there's literally no other earth energy besides a fourth of what shows up in there. I find that fascinating. So, you know, for me, when I'm getting messages about a particular topic and the associated elements aren't coming up with that, that tells me that concerns or worries about that element that's correlated to it are actually not where the focus needs to be, because like it's fine. And by it's fine, meaning like the money, the abundance is there. Like just because of instability, etc. Um, the value, the money, the skills, whatever this is looking like, again, within career or within business, the infrastructure, all of that is there. Yes, things are propped up artificially, et cetera, et cetera. But what is real, and there's a lot that's real, it's there. The abundance is there. Um, so that part itself is actually a non-issue, which is a bold thing to have come through. But that's how it comes through for me, like, when I don't see that energy. So it means it's a non-issue, or it's like, again, a fourth potentially of an issue, but it's really is a non-issue. Um, this is really perspective and influence. Perspective and influence. The fire energy for me also has to deal specifically with the leaders, so the business owners, nonprofit leaders, as well as folks who are in supervisory or leadership positions in their company. Um, and that's very clear here. Interesting. Let me see if there's anything else, but I think that is it. This might be like I mean, this is already almost an hour, so it's fine. But um, yeah, let me see if there's any questions for folks who are here. If you have any questions for your stuff, but I think that is it. So let me get some takeaways though while I'm here as a review. But let me make sure there's nothing else in these interpretations before I do that review. Oh, okay. So I'm being given the reminder. Thank you, Spirit. We've had the experience already of massive global shifts and changes that were, I'll just say, not ideal, right? Um, and literally the most recent has been COVID. That was just 2020. And literally the whole world, um, a lot of it shut down, or most stuff shut down except for like essential services, like globally, like that. That actually happened. And we're still here. But we just experienced that now, what, 6 years ago at this point? That just happened. Who would have thought coming into that time that the whole world would collectively shut down? And yet we pulled through, we survived. That's coming through for this money message. Because yes, we're again in another situation where, in this case now, rather than it being an illness, it's fuel, right? This is going to have long-standing, truly long-standing consequences because the traditional Four of Wands forms of energy production are older institutions, and they are time and labor intensive, meaning they take years to implement, and they run for a really long time, but they take years to implement. So with issues there and damage happening and continuing to happen there, it will take years to repair and eventually get back up to speed. Um, and it's not out of the question or hyperbolic to assume that this also will be the case for this entire Uranus and Gemini transit. like for real, for real. Um, you know, it just is like that. That really is the thing. So even then, the money is still there. Industry is still there. All those opportunities are still there. Undergoing transformation, yes. But yes, Spirit, the first step is facing it and recognizing it. Like being able to assess, like even, referring back to COVID, in the beginning stages of that, it's like, okay, this thing is happening. And then getting to that point where you're like, oh, this is actually a bigger deal than maybe what I or we might have been thinking, and it needs to um, have a much bigger coordinated response to, right? Like there's a thought process with that. It's the same thing here. This is longer term though. Okay, it's not a quick fix of we shut down for a couple months, even though that wasn't a quick fix, but you get what I'm saying. Which means that the transformation, because this is a in the position of transformation, this isn't fast change. This is a transformation of what has been stable, what has been comfortable into something else. So if we know that this is what is going to be the case for years to come, how then can we move and transform? So the recognition of like, oh, this is not a quick fix, it's a long term and it requires radical thinking, radical imagination and creativity. Then this next step number 2, is really important, because after accepting and acknowledging what is true, what is happening in reality, then we have to activate our creativity with a balanced mind, open heart, to play and to daydream and to consider other possibilities that can exist. And please make no mistake, this is a creative, playful state to be in. Wonder has to be a part of this process if you're actually going to see what's inherent. To be able to look at the thing and say, there's a lot of this is how it's always been done that's there. There's a lot of assumptions. There's a lot of like grooves in one particular way, whether you think they're bad or not, bad or good. But what does it look like to adapt those a bit, change those a bit, come up with something completely different? All right, that's the second step. And the third step is to test it out and to get out ahead in testing and trying. You don't have to expose everything. Like that's not necessarily like expose all of your plans and tell everyone like exact details. But you got to make those changes. You got to take the risks. This is risks as well. You got to be engaged in the process. This is not a card of like, oh, change is happening. Let me retreat to the background. This is let me stay engaged in the process. Even if that means I have to, if we're talking in the context of career, take a back step on my, professional trajectory and take a position that will pay less. Or if it's in business, if I have to stop offering um, certain services or certain products, because maybe there actually is too much that I can't handle and I have to like cut everything down in terms of what's being offered by 50%. And maybe some of those things I offer, as special opportunities for consumers to engage with throughout the year, or they completely go, whatever is the case. Um, but that might be required. But this is like doing whatever is required to stay in the game, to stay in um, the marketplace, so to speak. Marketplace being job or in business. This is not taking a back seat. This is taking up space, as uncomfortable as it is. This is being in the fray. And to be clear, this is a privilege. But if you have it, take it. Okay? Have the courage to show up. And as you do so, as we do so, whether in business or in your career, you will find your footing, you will find your flow, you will find that new pathway, you'll find that new solution, you'll find that culture fit, you'll find that market fit. Okay. All right, so we have no questions, so let's go ahead and close. Let me just get a closing message. Of course, I will put the timestamps below so you can go back to reference. Now we get the Earth sign, Five of Pentacles, and the Queen of Wands at the bottom. Yeah. I love this because as this card was coming out, what was coming up was, this thing about money, regardless of context, because it's when we talk about money, it's like we want to have more. What we want to use that money for is going to be unique, but we are using that money for a particular purpose, for the most part. But it's like you have to engage in the process, though. It's like it's not going to be given to you, whether you think you're a good person or a bad person or what have you. It's like you actually have to engage in the process. Again, this is Gemini energy, so you have to be in the process. It's not Aries where it's me, myself, and I. Although of course that is influenced here, but you have to be in the process, right? And Five of Pentacles very much says that, because the Four of Pentacles is you being with yourself, your stuff, not seeking to grow, not trying to grow, not taking risks, because Five of Pentacles is risk. I know it also gets associated with loss and things like that, but it's all fives are about change. It's trying to get to the next stage of stability. If it's coming after the four, it's trying to get to the six, which is the next stage of stability. If you were starting at a six and you are at the five, then you might be trying to get to a place of stability in the four. It may go back down to the four, it could go back up to the six. But the five is change, and it is our change. We are the ones engaging in the process. This isn't something coming outside, right? The external is just always going to be the external, but this is about how we are showing up in the process. So we already have the Five of Wands showing up, like, you need to engage in competing and going after the thing. You have to actively engage, and that is showing up here as well too. Regardless, the Five of Pentacles does talk about some level of dissatisfaction with the state of money in your life. And this can be a positive dissatisfaction or negative dissatisfaction. Positive dissatisfaction can be like, okay, I have a place of stability that I've reached with my money, whether that is in my career or in my business. And now I want to grow. So there's a positive dissatisfaction with the current state and wanting to shift that into more. Or it could be a negative dissatisfaction. It's like, again, maybe you got sick and you're 6 and you're like, I had what I needed and now there's less. And I need to get back to having what I need. For either context, the effort needs to be put in, and that desire, because it's a desire to change the circumstance in the money and the physical resources, has to be there to push you into what's next. The fire energy is definitely here. So the motivation can be here, and it definitely, I think, will be strongest at this first part of the Uranus and Gemini cycle, because we have Saturn and Neptune in particular holding down the fort in the first couple years. But being able to maintain that fire throughout the process, and to not assume that maybe some initial gains that you get in the beginning of Uranus and Gemini are going to last if you take your foot off the brake. And it's like, no, you have to stay engaged with that if you actually want to change your position. And you have the power to do so, especially with the Queen of Wands here. And we already have the Magician showing up. So this is saying, even in the midst of all the change and transformation happening, you can do it, and you have to fight for it. Are you going to use this or not, though? But, you got to pick your heart. That might actually be the main message here. Not to pick your heart, but the idea of complacency or resting on your laurels when it comes to money, whether, again, in your career, in your business, may be the thing that requires the biggest amount of transformation in your mindset and in your perspective, just in general with life. It's like, it's something that actually has to regularly be engaged with, because it is, the nature of it is this. It's not pentacles. It's not a solid thing. Money is, in this context of Gemini, it is exchange. It is movement. So you want to keep things moving. You want to stay engaged with the process. You have to understand that movement and not take short-term gains or short-term losses as permanent. Whether that's held individually or institutionally. Because remember, I said this also has to do with influence. So on a collective scale, there is also like influential things that can be done. But again, this is just on money. It's not on the politics. So, all right, y'all. I believe that is it then. Very interesting messages. I'm actually myself going to sit with this a little bit more and do some journaling and talk with spirit and ancestors about this more, because it is quite fascinating and interesting that this came through about the money. Yeah, because I was also half expecting there to be things about certain industries that will pop up that may do well or what have you, but None of that was here. It really is, yes, change is here. It's a part of this it'll be part of this entire transit. Accept it, shift your perspective about it, get in the game, take some risks, and stack your wins. There we go. All right. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. God willing, I'll be here next time. I may do the last part of Uranus and Gemini specifically on spirit messages next time. We will see. I kind of gotta. I do want to plan out the schedule for this month, but um, yeah, I'll figure that out and let you know. But if you again would like to book a session with me, you can go to the website and check on the tab that says services for that. The featured service for this month specifically is the visioning consultation for those who are looking to start a business. That is there to support you in clarifying what that might be, and things to consider and look at, and getting yourself up and running, and also some strategy and pre-planning down the road. But yeah, so check that out. And then the April 2026 astrology report is now up on the blog page, so definitely watch that and the video as a complement to round out those messages for both personal and business. Okay, much love to you all. Have a blessed weekend, and God willing, I will see you next time. Bye.